down and then the video, but hello everybody and welcome. Football is back. Premier League starts tonight. Everton play Monday. I am joined by Giga Chad himself, all the way from the US. How are we, mate? You okay? You excited?
I'm so excited. I maybe we'll see the Shite lose 2 in a row today. That would be outstanding. You know what? We have a lot to talk about. There's so much going on with Everton, and we had the press conference from David Moyes today. So we're gonna touch on all of this, but it just feels good to have it back, doesn't it, Corey?
It does. It feels like when there's no like European football or international football or anything like that, there's no tournament football, it just goes on forever. And I know we usually like a break from Everton, especially the past couple of years, but I am itching for the season to start. I've been itching for a few weeks. Even without a right winger, I've just been itching to go. So I cannot wait. Monday can't come soon enough. Let's have it. Let's smash Leeds and let's have a good season.
Okay, so why? So what is it? What is it that's getting you so excited about the start of the season? Is it the new stadium? Is it Jack Grealish? Is it David Moyes? What is kind of causing this excitement for you?
So do you know what? It's not even the new stadium. Look, I'm excited to go at some point when I get the chance to, but it is. We've had a lot of false dawns, but this feels like the great reset. We said it at the end of the season. A lot of players leaving, a lot of deadwood leaving, a chance to reinvigorate the squad. A lot of new players joining. Moyes coming back. We look a lot better in terms of the mentality around everyone. We're a lot more attacking. I just think we're going to play nicer football. Everyone's going to be much more positive. And I just think it is this chance for the great reset. It's if you can't look at a scenario like this with positivity, what's the point? What's the point in watching football? You need that kind of positivity, especially for something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say my one concern heading into the season, and I like a lot of what has happened this summer. I don't think we lost a single person from the squad that I would want to have come back anyway. I love everything that David Moyes has said and done this season. I wish we would have had some better results in the preseason, but that's completely irrelevant. My biggest concern is that I feel like so much is aligned from the new stadium, ownership, the footballing structure. It seems like we have real people in place that are capable of filling these roles and doing their jobs well. We have a manager that really gets it and gets Everton, gets the club, gets the community. My only concern is the team. So we're just going in with major depth issues, potentially quality concerns, and Corey, I'll be honest. Like I look at this squad and I'm thinking, like, who do we feel really great about right now? Who are the rock solid knowns? Jordan Pickford, Iliman Ndiaye, Idrissa Gana Gueye, who is on the backside of his career. Everyone else, there's questions around. James Tarkowski on the wrong side of 30, coming off of a fairly significant injury. Jared Branthwaite now turning into always a fitness concern. Vitaly Migliko, same thing can be said. We have no option on the right and right back. James Garner has yet to establish himself as a true Premier League player. Dewsbury Hall, I'm very intrigued by. So we'll see. That's still to be determined. Dwight McNeil, squad player, potentially at best. Jack Grealish. Listened to a great podcast from the Blue Room. They had a Manchester City insider on, and it turns out one of Jack Grealish's biggest problems at City was off the pitch, not necessarily what he was doing on the pitch. So are there concerns? Does some of that come over and carry over into how he's treating his career at this point in Everton? And then we all know what Beto is. Barry's unproven. Tremiti's unproven. We have no answers on the right. So yeah, Corey, I'm so excited. I'm so looking forward to Leeds. I think we're absolutely going to smash them.
You sure?
I have all of that being said, yes, we're going to smash them. But I'm just concerned. I'm concerned about the team.
Do you know what? And you've got legitimate concerns as well. We all know the right wing, or at least the right side in general, is glaring. We all know that. The club's tried to get a number of right wingers in. We've been linked with many over the summer. Moyes in his press conference today said he's not as concerned about the right back role, which I'm a bit dubious on because we could do with someone more offensive, and especially with the issue with Jared Branthwaite, Tarkowski, wrong age of 30 and wrong side of 30 with his injury. at the end of the season, we need O'Brien to be able to be available as a centre-back instead of as a right-back. So I agree with you there, disagree with Moyes. I understand the concern. I understand the concern at right wing, because if we're just missing one complete side, it is a massive issue. But that being said, like you've said, players that we've let go, we've done the right business at the end of the season. The right players that we wanted to let go, we've let go. The three players that we've wanted to keep, we've kept. Trissagana Gay, Charlie Alcaraz, Jared Branthwaite retained as well for a bit longer. So we've kept the players that we want. Any player that we've lost or has left the club, we've not lost them. We've let them go because they don't fit the club. They're not good enough. They're not up to scratch. And all we've done then is we have strengthened. I think there's a lot of clubs in the Premier League who haven't strengthened themselves where we have, and they've lost players as well. We've not really lost anyone we want to. We've gained the players that we want. We just need a couple more additions. I think this depth side of thing, I'm not too worried about until the end of the transfer window, because we just need the players. We need a good enough squad and a couple of the decent-sized bench to be able to play. Once the injuries start hitting properly, the fatigue, round about the Christmas period, the middle of the season, we should have already sorted that come the end of the transfer window, and I hope we do, and we really should do that as well. But I get where you're coming from. I just think it's a positive sign. A couple of issues with the defence, of course, but if we play like we should, we've got the players. You look at the Leeds squad, they have got some decent players. They've got a couple of players there at a Premier League quality, maybe not Premier League proven, but Premier League quality. But there's also a lot of that squad that it's still Championship. The two centre-backs that are likely to play on Monday, in my mind, are Championship defenders, not Premier League defenders.
And that's why I would still favor Everton to win regardless of us getting signings in. This is still very much a championship side team in Leeds. Can we talk briefly about right back, because I found that to be really, really interesting today in the press conference. I don't know who the reporter was that suggested that we're thin on the right side, and David Moyes snapped back and said, "Oh, you should be a scout," without a smile on his face. So that bothered him to some extent, that it is even a talking point. I think we all know the side is thin. I think we all know, like David Moyes knows, we all see it, but just the suggestion of it, I think was a bit irritating for him. So to say that it's not of the utmost priority for Everton, I take issue with, only because the first business they tried to do in the transfer window was Kenny Tete coming over from Fulham. So we know it's a priority. We know that they're looking for a proper fit. They just haven't been able to identify that player yet. So for David Moyes now to say, I think we're covered there, it's not as high of a priority as somewhere else on the pitch, it might be true. They might be prioritizing right wing over that, but it's still business that needs to be done. And to be honest, Corey, it's business that should have been done up to this point.
Yeah, I agree. I think we wouldn't have been as worried as such if Branthwaite hadn't got injured, because I'd have been happy for O'Brien to play there temporarily until the end of the transfer window if it meant we get the right back. However, the fact that he has got injured has just highlighted that probably wasn't the right decision. That wouldn't have been the right decision in the right scenario anyway, because you need to have them in. You need to prepare for all scenarios, and that's essentially what has happened. We've lost our centre-back. O'Brien, are you going to go to centre-back and we'll light on the right, or is he going to stay on the right, and are we going to go down to the fourth place centre-back in Michael Keane? That is a big issue. That fourth place centre-back should just be emergencies, and we shouldn't have an emergency for the first game of the season. So it is an issue. I know where you're coming from, and David Moyes has every right to be annoyed. I think his eye is showing, and I think that the board really, really needs to take that on point, and we need to make sure that we do get some sort of cover on the right in defence. Otherwise, this might be an issue again in the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm. I love Emma's comment here. The idea of Keane being a fourth choice, you can accept that. Now all of a sudden, if that's going to push O'Brien over and he's going to be our starting right back, Keane at third choice center back, that's tougher, especially when Jared Branthwaite is seeming to be as fragile as he is. We're going to get another season of Jared Branthwaite injury concerns, and Corey, it really scares me, because a hamstring, we've seen it before, especially with Dom in recent years. You don't play around with a hamstring. You're basically shut down for a couple months, because the risk of it coming back and flaring back up again and potentially worsening is so severe with that muscle. So it really worries me about where we are with Jared Branthwaite, and I'm concerned that there's not been more rumors of us going for another center back at this point. I think it's going to be needed. I mean, we certainly bought a 16-year-old, but that's for the under 18 setup. But yeah, I just think we need more bodies everywhere, and it's going to be a little touch and go until we can get some of these last signings in, some of these loan acquisitions in. I guess that's what we had to look forward to. But Leeds, we can certainly win. Against Brighton, at home, that's the one that's going to concern me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, I think even with the issues that we got on defence at the moment, obviously it is very unfortunate that Mykolenko injured, although Moyes said he's definitely in the running to play on Monday. Patterson is also apparently in the running to play on Monday, I believe. So it could be that Patterson moves into centre back and Patterson plays right back. At that point, it's less of a panic, but it is definitely something that we need to address. Moving on to, obviously, the game on Monday. Do you have any initial thoughts before we get into the press conference properly? Before we get into the starting lineups, leads, and things like that? Have you got any initial thoughts before we move into all that?
Yeah, I think it's just the one thing that's on the top of everyone's mind, and it's Jack Grealish, and where is he going to be, and how are they going to utilize him? I'm really, really curious. I want to know. I want to know what Jack Grealish is at this point in his career. He's nearly 30 years old. He hasn't seen his best football in quite some time. I would say 3 out of the 4 years at Manchester City, he was not up to par, or at least his standard. The treble-winning season, he was very good, but we have still not seen that creative, dynamic player that we saw at Villa. So does he still have that inside of him? That's what I want to know. So I was hoping, even you mentioned the press conference, I was hoping David Moyes would speak to that a little bit about how Jack has looked. But you can still see David Moyes is over the moon, excited about having this guy in the team. So yeah, I mean, Jack Grealish, it's all going to revolve around him. And then I think what I'm most wanting to know is this setup, however David Moyes is going to set it up, are we going to actually be able to get service to our strikers? That has been an issue in recent years. Certainly Dominic Calvert-Lewin wasn't a great finisher by any means, but getting him proper service was a trouble for the last several years. So Tierno Barry looks like a really interesting player. Are there the pieces in place now to set him up and put him in a position to really affect games? Dewsbury Hall looks like he might be that guy. Charlie Alcaraz has an attacking mindset. I don't know how much we'll see him on Monday, but that's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm very curious to know how David Moyes is going to set this team up to be as effective as possible, because it looks like, and the way that Everton have approached business and the way that David Moyes has talked about this team, is it looks like the Sean Dyche days of packing it in and the V and, wants to be a little bit more progressive and attacking mind, with an attacking mindset.
I agree, and I think that's part of the reason that we refer back to earlier, that everyone is a bit more excited than myself as well. And when Everton played under David Moyes, he was always a pragmatic manager, wasn't he? But he still had the players in that would bomb forward and would want to attack. The link-ups between Baines and Pienaar, Fellaini always driving forward. He always had a striker who wanted to play on the shoulder. He brought in Kevin Morales. So certainly, I think we're going to be a lot more progressive. And I think, like you've said there, it's about feeding the forward players. I think Dewsbury Hall, whether he plays in the 10 or whether he plays further deep, he's good at carrying the ball forward. We've been notoriously slow in recent years in terms of the transition. So I think bringing him in really helps. When we watched him against Roma, the main thing I seen was when he received the ball, he would receive the ball, but keep the ball moving forward and keep the play going. When it was Decore in that role, he'd receive the ball and stop and turn. And by that point, the opposition have got 3-4 players behind the ball, and then your attack stops. So I think that's a massive positive. I think that's something that we can look forward to, and I think something that is really going to help us. Same with Jack Grealish. His ability to receive the ball is fantastic. He's great. He's dribbling. He's got a decent eye for goal, but he's passing as well. So if we can get them two, especially sliding balls through, Beto playing on the shoulder, Tierno Barry on the shoulder, Iliman Ndiaye on the shoulder, that championship defence in my mind of Leeds is really, really going to struggle.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like I need to get you to Finch Farm to talk to David Moyes, just to make sure that he's on the same page with you, because I love everything that you just said. So we're going to say, how would you set us up on Monday then? I mean, it doesn't look like any more incomings are coming in, so or at least prior to this game.
So if it was me, I would probably go 4-2-3-1. Whether I think David Moyes plays this, but if it was me personally, Pickford in goal, of course. If Mikalenko's fit, he plays. I think you're going to have to go with Michael Keane, Tarkowski, and O'Brien. I think he wants that. He's happy for O'Brien to play that centre-back role at the moment. Yeah, just put your faith in Michael Keane just for this game. We'll see how he goes. Maybe that bit of faith from David Moyes might help him. I've always criticised him, but I think he's got to go for that. And then your midfield two, Idrissa Gana Gay, James Garner, I think, Njai on the right, Grealish on the left, and Dewsbury Hall in the middle. And then Beto up top. Now, I don't think that'll be permanent. I think that'll just be for this game, because I would expect that once we've got maybe a right winger in, or we've got someone, basically once we've got a bit more bodies in the door, I think we'll see Dewsbury Hall potentially move deeper. Maybe take up Idrissa Gana Gay or James Garner's space at times. Grealish move into the centre in the number 10 role. And then Njai out wide, and probably once we've got a right winger, someone out wide right for them as well. But that's what I think he'll likely go for. I know we like Njai on the left, but he can play on the right, and it's just probably easiest to do it that way. It doesn't look like he favours McNeil at the moment, does it? You've watched him in pre-season. He's got massive amounts of minutes. He's looked poor as well when he's come on, Dwight McNeil. So I think that's what you'll probably go for.
Wow. So there are some comments here about suggesting that Grealish play on the right.
Yeah, so this one here
from possibility.
From people. I mean, I can see what he means. Njai usually plays on the left, so maybe you want to do the least amount of moving parts, i.e. Grealish should come in on the right, and Njai doesn't have to move. But I think Jack Grealish, he's not pacey. He's used to... I prefer him as number 10. I think that's very much his position. I think he was wasted out wide left for Man City. I think he was isolated quite a lot. Didn't get to be the dynamic player who really gets in and influences the game in the middle that he's shone at Villa for. So I don't like him out wide left. I would play him on this occasion. Wide right, he just doesn't have the pace for it. And especially with Jake O'Brien as well. At least in Dye, although he's not left-footed, he has got a bit of pace, and he will try and stretch the back line.
Yeah, and Dye is deceptively fast, like deceptively quick. He is. I don't think he has great line to line or end to end pace, but for some reason nobody's catching him from behind. So you're absolutely right about that. I think David Moyes is going to want to see Grealish in the 10, like from the kickoff. I love the idea of playing Dewsbury Hall as a true box-to-box, because I think that's one thing that Everton have been missing in recent years, is a true number 8 that can affect the game offensively and really carry the ball forward. So I hope that's what we get at some point, and we might even get that against Leeds. It's just a matter of patching together the right at some point, and maybe that's Charlie Alcaraz, maybe that's Dwight, playing out of position on the right again. Dwight finished the season as our right winger last year, so we might go back to that again. I noticed in the preseason, it seemed like a lot of our attack was coming on the left side. So I could imagine him doing some kind of patchwork job on the right with Alcaraz or McNeil, and really focusing on, those kind of triangles of Dewsbury Hall, Grealish, and Ndiaye, and really trying to break Leeds down, and then potentially creating something or getting fouled. I think that's where a lot of our attack is going to come on Monday. But the more we talk about it, just I wish it was starting tomorrow. I'll be honest. I can't wait. I can't.
Yeah, mate, no, I agree. It's just the anticipation this year. We want it to come, don't we? So we're all excited, and I hope we could just carry that on to the away crowd. I think Ryan's going to be in the at Elland Road in the away section. So I hope that carries through to the crowd. It usually will. The away support's magnificent, isn't it? Just to go on to a point where you said them triangles down the left-hand side, that could be a massive part, because one of the main glaring issues for Leeds United, similar to us, is the right-back role. Now, we mentioned about the two centre-backs. I don't think they're great. They have signed another centre-back from Italy. I think he's come from Udinese. He is apparently suspended for this game, according to their press conference. They've got a new left-back, Gunnarsson, Swedish left-back from, I think was it Lille was last season in Ligue 1 in France. More of an attacking left-back than he is an defending one, but he's fairly decent all round. He will retain his position, but he is better going forward than defending. But their right-back position, and it was reiterated in the press conference by Daniel Farke, is a major position that they're looking to strengthen in as well. They've had Jared Bogle, who's got a decent bit of pace. They got him from Sheffield United about 3 years ago. Decent pace, but he's not an exceptional footballer. I don't think he's massively onto the Premier League quality as well. And they've got another lad who I don't know too much about, to be honest. I was just looking at the Leeds lineup from the past few games he's played. Let me just try and find the fella for you. A lad called Isaac Schmidt, Swiss lad. Again, doesn't look like he's played a massive amount of games for Leeds last season. Maybe not as a starter anyway, but it seems like they're very weak on that right back spot as well. So that should be a position that we really, really look to attack, like you've said, down that left-hand side. Regardless of who it is, we need to be very attacking there. But also mindful of, they'll have Daniel James, they'll have Nonto, potentially wanting to carve you out.
Yeah, and play on the counter, certainly. So we have to be really, really assured in possession and pick our spots wisely. I think, especially, I don't want to pick on him, but if we get in a position where Michael Keane is starting tomorrow, we're going to have to be a little bit careful. I wouldn't want Michael Keane to be exposed. I wouldn't want Vitaly Mykolenko to be exposed if he starts. We don't know yet if he's going to be playing tomorrow. So that could be Seamus in that spot. It could be Dwight coming back and playing left back. It could be Adam Asnew. I don't think he'll start the season with the 19-year-old left back starting. So there are going to be some yellow. I mean, there's going to be some hazard areas, in Everton's setup, regardless, that David Moyes is going to have to be mindful of, especially as he puts the squad together for tomorrow. But I think you're absolutely right. There's going to be areas and ways to attack Leeds, and I feel really confident that we can certainly get there. Corey, how would you go about solving the right side for us long term? What is the profile? You talked about the potential of those triangles that we have in the middle on the left side. What is a complementary setup that we could potentially look for on the right?
So, I mean, what I would personally go for, if it's the first thing and the most important thing, is going to be the right winger role. Ideally, someone left-footed, someone who's good making the way into the box, someone who's got decent output, but they need to be rapid. Left-footed, rapid is the main thing, and then with a decent output, whether it's assists or goals. My number one for this season would have been, within a budget, Nicholas Kuhn, who was at Celtic. He has now gone to Como in Italy, having a really, really good season, really, really good transfer window. I would have gone for him. The Land Bakwe of Strasbourg is another one. Cost a little bit more, but if we're happy to drop 50 million, 40 million for Dublin, we can easily put 40 million down for the Land Bakwe. I think he's exceptional, rapid, left-footed, willing to cut in. And he's got a decent output for the season for a very attacking young Strasbourg side. I do like Fatou as well at Leicester. I do like Dublin, but I think he's going to be an exceptional player in a few years, but he's not the profile that we need. Yeah, he's young, decent strength, very good on the ball, but his output hasn't been great. I know last season he was in a poor Southampton team, but his output wasn't great, and he's not rapid. So for me, Nicholas Kuhn, he's out the question now because he's gone to Como. The Land Bakwe would be my number two, or Fatou at Leicester. I'd go for him. I was a bit unsure coming into this pre-season about him because he was out for a long period last season, missed most of it with an injury. But he looks like he's coming back. He's looking fit. He's rapid. He's taking players on. He's got that dynamic ability. So I'd throw the money at him if they want. Apparently they've declined 30 million. I would throw 40 million at him. 100%. I'd take him, or the Land Bakwe, but he won't come anytime soon. If we get the Land Bakwe, it'll be deadline day because no Champions League or European teams have come in for him. That's what I'd do for the right wing. Then I'd move to right back next to Porter.
Let me stop you there. Yeah. So a lot of the characteristics that you just described seem an awful lot like James McAtee. And we just saw that he moved to I think it was Forest, right? Didn't he and Omari Hutchinson both move to Forest, which is so I was really surprised. That was certainly a number that appears to be within Everton's budget, certainly less than what has been reported we offered for Dibbling. Why not make that move for McAtee?
I think with McAtee, so Ryan posted, the Follow Everton page posted or reposted the details from the James McAtee deal. And a lot of it is Man City have a buyback agreement. They've got a sell-on fee as well. So like Ryan said, a lot of the a lot of the risk is on Forest. If he doesn't work out, they miss out. If he does well, they're not going to make as much money from him. I think that also coupled with the fact that James McAtee is less of a right winger. He's more of a central attacking midfielder. In fact, here we go, just on cue, Wormy Spoons. He isn't a right winger and he isn't rapid. So I think that's why I think there's a space in the squad for one player who's going to come in off the wing and play number 10 or play number 10. And we've gone for Grealish because he's the big name. He'll do it short term for us. And potentially, if we sign him on, if he does well, we'll sign him on for a big fee and it'll be fantastic for us. So I think that's what they've chosen. They've chosen Grealish over McAtee. That's what my thinking is in regards to it. I just don't think he's got the pace that the club wants. Peter Duggan's also said Takefusa Kubo at Sociedad. Again, exceptional player. He's not blistering pace, rapid, long term. Very much like Ndai. He's got that short burst of speed. He's got great acceleration. His turn of pace is fantastic. Still pacey enough that he'll make fullbacks think about him, and it'll make the defensive line think twice. And he can break an offside trap, but he's still not rapid. And again, Sociedad, because there's a massive sell-on clause for what they do at Real Madrid, they'll be requesting 60, 70 million. I think someone like Fatawu, maybe not as good, but within a budget, your value for money is going to be just as good, or if not better, than what you get for Kubo.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, you certainly know the names better than I do. I agree with you on the profile. I think we need some pace just to stretch defenses and potentially open things up. So yeah, I agree with you there. I interrupted you when you were going to talk about the right back position.
Yeah, so then if you go into the right back position, we need, ideally, in my opinion, if you've got Jake O'Brien who can deputise and be that defensive, solid centre back playing right, he's the defensive side of the right back, yeah? We need someone who's going to be a bit more of an attacking right back, and you can maybe go for, similar like we've done Asnu to Mikalenko. Asnu is much more attacking, doesn't have that defensive nous, but he is exciting, and maybe if we're down and we need to bring someone on to replace Mikalenko who's going to attack, we go for it, gung-ho, chips are down on the table, roll the dice, you bring him on. I think you do something similar, but with a more ready-made right back. So, for example, you go for someone who's a bit more attacking, maybe doesn't have the experience, maybe comes from like the La Liga or from the Championship. Van Evjik at Coventry had a decent season. There's been better right backs than him last season, but he's very attacking, he's very fast. And again, he'd be a nice complement to Jake O'Brien as a defensive centre back, and you can choose your scenario. There's a couple of other right backs who you could choose from as well. I actually like Omar El Halali at Espanyol, Moroccan lad. He's a bit more well-rounded than he is a full attacking right back. But there's players out there. Most of these right backs you can get from between 7.5 to 20, 25 million, depending on how much you want to spend on them. So there are players out there. Andre Raju at Rayo Vallecano, linked with big clubs, hasn't gone anywhere. He's rapid, but he's 27, so he's going to rely on that pace a bit more. So, again, there's options there. The biggest one is break the bank for the right winger. It doesn't matter who you spend. I'd pay 100 million for someone. I don't have it, but that's the kind of thing we do. We want to break the bank on that right winger. Someone who's fantastic. Who's just they're going to bump you up 2-3 players like we expect Grealish to be, but we want them on a permanent. And then right back, and then again, we need another winger. I'd probably go for a right-footed winger again, pacey. They don't even have to be fantastic. They can be someone direct, fast, maybe lacking other bits of skills. Like an Adama Traore, he was fast. He could take players on. He was hard to get to. He's not going to be starting every game, but again, it's a wild card that you throw in there. We need that extra bit of pace to play. There's a lad in Denmark who I like, Ben Doak, a little bit more expensive, but if he's gone for 25 million, you can throw in for him as well. So there's players out there. It's just a case of, are they available? Do the clubs want to play ball? And are the club wanting to take a chance on them?
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, I've gone on a massive rant here, mate.
No, I mean, certainly still a lot of options. I think I'm at the point now where I just want to see someone in. So even if Southampton's valuation of Dibbling is outrageous, he's 19 and he's dynamic and he's skilled and he's someone that's going to only grow in value. So if you can negotiate a better sell-on clause, I wouldn't mind still meeting that valuation of Dibbling. I don't know if the club will. What's so frustrating, I have a couple different frustrations I'll share with you. First being that, have you noticed that there was no talk of us supplementing this squad with under 21 academy players, where there's no talk of Roman Dixon, there's no talk of Isaac Keep. Reece Welch has been the outskirts of the first team roster for a couple years now. Where is the development coming from? I think there are some really apparently talented players coming. Braden Graham, we see the Irish striker, like 16 or 17, something like that. So it does seem like there is some talent in the pipeline, but where are they now? So especially this is when you should be relying on, really your academy when you need some squad filler, as we do. I hope that David Moyes will maybe see what he has there with a couple of those guys. Secondly, why is it that Roma, if you noticed how active Roma has been during this transfer window, it is driving every time Fabrizio Romano puts out a tweet about Roma is looking at player X or player Y, I just want to scream because I'm like, it's all the same money for the most part. Why aren't we spending like this? And I know there are PSR concerns, but there are ways around PSR concerns. So what is the holdup? Why can't we not get signings in the door?
You know what I would say. So there's this adage: you want to get the right player in quick. If you can't get the right player in quick, you want to get the right player in slow and not the wrong player in quick. And I think that's what we're doing. We're doing the best deal. Even the Tierno Barry one, he had a release clause and we negotiated for about 3 weeks to get it down by about 7 to 10 million. So I think that's what they're doing. I don't mind that. It is very much a case of if we'd have got a right winger in, I've said this a couple of times, if we get a right winger in and we break the bank, it doesn't matter. Everyone's relaxed then because everyone knows it's the big elephant in the room. It's the big massive spot on your edge. You can't miss it. If we'd have sorted that out, I think everyone would have been patient for all the other positions that we're filling in. But because that is so glaring, I think that's why a lot of us are a little bit more impatient. So I do think it's, and I appreciate what the club is doing in terms of going for the right players. You want the right profile. You have to make sure it's the right deal for Everton as well in terms of the financial package and things like that. And I think that's what they're doing with Diblin. They're not being hung out to dry. Once Southampton start throwing the price up, we move on to someone else. I agree with you in terms of, again, although I said he wouldn't be what I go for, we need the right winger. If we want to get him in, that's fine. I'll take him because we need someone, and I think he's going to be exceptional. But we need to negotiate that price down. And I think that's what they're doing. They're just saying, look, we've got 2 games before the end of the transfer window. I'd rather take my chance with not having a right winger for these 2 games and get the right guy in. Because, look, if we get a right winger in, they might do something, but they might be a Jack Harrison who gets absolutely no points for the whole season, never mind for these 2 games. Whereas if we miss these 2 games, and I still think we should beat Leeds, and to be honest, I think we've got every single chance of beating Brighton, if not getting a draw at the least, then I'd take that risk to make sure we get the guy in that gets us 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points throughout the rest of the season.
I'm worried. I'm just worried we're dropping points now, and I don't believe we're going to push for Europe. My hope is that we do. Certainly not going to win the league, but these are going to be really important points, especially considering the financial implications of where you finish in the table at the end of the season. So, not getting a win against Leeds tomorrow, a draw tomorrow or a draw on Monday will feel like a loss. Just because that is something that is a winnable match. That was something we should win. Not getting a draw against Brighton will feel like even a bigger loss than just you losing out on those 3, because the potential is there. I really feel like with David Moyes, and he has his fingers on the pulse of this team, and the talent is here, we should finish top 10. I mean, certainly in the top half of mid-table. I think there's potential here to finish 8th or 9th, and I don't want to miss out on that additional prize money from finishing, at that high in the table. So get someone in. Just I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else to say about it, but it appears that David Moyes is just as frustrated as I am, and as many people in the comments are. So I don't know if that is the holdup, if it's just negotiating tactics, or I don't know what it is. I need resolution to this. I need resolution to this now.
And you know what, mate? I completely understand where you're coming from. I do myself, but I completely understand the urgency and the need for you, for a lot of the fans, everyone in the chat. I completely understand it. Again, in an ideal world, we would have had someone in with plenty of time to bed into the team. And ideally, it would have, like I said, I wanted Nicholas Kuhn at the start of the season. We could have just gone in for him, 20 million. I think he went for 17 million or something like that. There's your winger. Boom, sorted. He plays in Scotland. He's settled. I think, and that's why Moyes is upset, is because he's potentially happy to wait to get the right player in instead of obviously maybe going in too early on someone that we don't want or who's not right. But he knew, like we all did, that this was overdue, and this signing is well overdue. It's late, it's not arrived on time, and you are right. I'll be annoyed myself if we do drop points. But again, I do think the club is more a case of hedging the bets on. We'd rather wait a couple of weeks, risk these 2 weeks to get the right man than to not. If we were to, let's say, drop points against Leeds and lose against Brighton, I'd be livid. However, if come the transfer deadline day we were to get someone like Dylan Bakwa, who I think is exceptional, or someone of that ilk, then I'd accept it, if you know what I mean. It would mitigate it, because I think him himself would get us an extra 4, 5, 6, 7 points potentially with his ability. So I understand where you're coming from. It is just for me, it's a case of, I think they're playing that waiting game, and it's kind of, I'm going to just put my faith in them, if you know what I mean. But I understand completely where you're coming from in terms of the agency and the stress for it.
It feels like there hasn't been urgency, and that's probably unfair to the club. It feels like they put their lot in for Canseco. Is that how you say it? Went to Juventus. Okay, thank you. So that was the number one target. They put their lot in for him, and then it moved to Fofana. Now it's moved to Dibbling. And while we've been waiting for these deals to get sorted out, we've missed opportunities and we've burned through important time. I think James Graham in the comments mentioned Tom Fellows. We know that there was a deal in place for Tom Fellows at the deadline in January. They did not go for it. Ernest Nuama, there was a deal in place for Ernest Nuama in January. They did not go for it. So there are people that are gettable that would fill a need now that would potentially not lose value, that you could turn around and sell in a year or in 2 years and would still serve as squad depth for you now. So I appreciate that they're being cautious, but it's not going to help us on Monday against Leeds when we can't play down the right and Charlie Alcaraz is out of position constantly because he always wants to drift centrally. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at now. I hope to God that we get this sorted early part of next week and we can actually have someone in for Brighton.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, it's desperate. That's the one thing, is we are desperately. I hope none of the selling clubs are listening to this, but we are desperate for a right winger with pace. It is disappointing at this point, and I can understand Moyes being upset, but it is very much a case of, if it's not in for the end of the transfer window, as good as the transfer window's been, you'd still consider it probably a fail.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's like the later the night goes on, your standards go lower, and all of a sudden you find yourself going home with. So that's kind of where we're at. Where Everton's at the pub right now. It's getting pretty late into the night. You're looking around at your options and you're saying, she'll do, I guess. That's where we're at. So we're at the she'll do point of the transfer window. I don't know if that's the right analogy, but
stuff it. Let's just smash him. Let's just smash in 4 tequilas and get Tom Fellows.
Right on. Oh man! All right, what else is on our agenda for you?
So, moving on to Leeds. We mentioned obviously the defence. They've got a couple of players that could come to haunt us. The typical Everton case. Obviously, Willie Gnonto, man who we've tried to sign about 15 million times, has never arrived. Jack Harrison as well, obviously on loan for us for the past 2 years. Back at his parent club, Leeds. Been getting boos from them throughout the pre-season. However, the boos are starting to slow down now. Daniel Farker said he's won over the Leeds fans, or the Leeds players. It's just the fans now. And of course, who signed today, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Do you see either of these three playing, and do you see either of these three being the one to continue the Everton case of ex-players or missed players coming to haunt us?
I don't think they're gonna haunt us. I will say that we're in a point in football where, and maybe it's social media, but there's a segment of fans that are just so mean, and we know that Jack Harrison we know that Dominic Calvert-Lewin have struggled with mental health, and believe me, I'm not some snowflake where we want to put that. No. I'm not some snowflake where we have to consider, is everyone's mental health in a proper state before we move ahead with anything. I'm not saying that. I'm not bringing in American wokeness into this conversation. But what I am saying is, can we just let people play football? Like, that's all. I think Jack Harrison, if he has his shortcomings as a player, but he never slags off in a game. I mean, he always gives a ton of effort. He is he's a great squad. I mean, he's a great teammate. He's a great person to have in the squad. Great in the locker or great in the changing room. Excuse me. We have better things to do. I know I went with an American phrase. We have better things to do with our time than just be shitty to people and around, and especially in football. So no, I don't think they're going to hurt us. I don't think Dom is even going to play, to be quite honest with you. He's probably just now training today for the first time. I can't imagine him being in the setup in any way on Monday. Jack Harrison will probably come in at the 80th minute at some point. But no, if we're in a position where we're worrying about those players harming us, then we probably have deeper trouble, more trouble than we want to admit.
I agree. I mean, I definitely don't think DCL will play. Definitely don't think he'll start. If he does play, he'll have like a 5-minute cameo, but I don't think that's going to happen. We know about his injury issues. He's not been training with the team, so he won't have fitness. So I don't think he's one for us to worry about, even if he was fit, to be fair. But in terms of Harrison or Nonso, so obviously Leeds play 3 up front or 4-2-3-1. So they'll have either Perot, Bamford, or Mecca, who they've got for free from Wolfsburg. He's the striker in Mecca, not the very, very good central midfielder in Mecca. So it'll most likely be Perot or Mecca who play up front for them. But on the wings of them, it'll either be Dan James, Willie Nonso, or Jack Harrison. Do you, based on you saying Harrison will come on with 5-10 minutes to spare, do you think it'll be Nonso on one side, Dan James on the other?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah, that's what I would think. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, what I was just because I agree with you. There are a couple of things obviously to think about that because obviously they're struggling for the right back departments. We've got that very strong left hand side you'd expect with Ndai, Dewsbury Hall, Grealish, hopefully anyway. So maybe he would put Harrison on for his industriousness because, like you said, for all his shortcomings, and I'll be honest, every time he come on, I absolutely groaned. Like I actually felt sorry for him. His work rate and the reason he was brought on was to hold that right hand side. So do you reckon we could see him play that right midfield role, or do you just think no, they're going to go forward, they're going to try and get him behind us, and it'll be the fast paced legs of Dan James and Willie Nonso?
Yeah, I think they're going to see us as I think they're going to see us and think that we're open in the back. So it's going to be. I imagine Michael Keane is going to start. And we'll see what the status of Mikolenko is, as I mentioned before. I think they're going to think that we're ripe for giving up a goal, probably in the early minutes as well. I would imagine they'll be aggressive. They'll be on the front foot to start this game, and it just is a matter of can Everton settle down and hopefully open them up at some point. But yeah, there's a lot to learn. That's what's the fun thing about the season starting is there's so many unknowns. We don't have past matches that we can reference. We can of course go back to last season, but yeah, we don't really know exactly what these teams are going to look like yet, and that's kind of the fun of Monday is that we get to see it right there live.
Yeah, definitely. Is that because for me myself, like I said, I just can't wait. I think we've got more than enough. I think. They've got the wide players of Leeds, but I just think they lack a lot, especially going forward. They've lost Mana Solomon, their best player. They're there for the taking, and it's Leeds away. First game of the season is going to be difficult. It's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. I'm sure Leeds fans will do that because it's what for all the issues and for all the stigma around them, they are really, really loud and are fantastic at supporting the club. But the team doesn't look great, and it should be a team that we should be able to get 3 points from. We should be going into this unknown quantity ourselves, a lot of players that we want to see, and we should really be going in and expecting a win. I reckon they will probably get a goal or two, but we should definitely get more than that as well. Yeah, so I completely agree with you, mate.
Yeah. Hey, let me switch topics on you, Corey. What do you think David Moyes roots out the bobble? What I think that was a lot of where the discourse was, but yeah.
So, but this is because my understanding was, I mean, if you look at the lads who they podcast with and who they're linked to, they do a lot of stuff with the club. So if that's the case, they're surely going to know who he is. So I think most of the information that gets passed on has been passed on with blessing. For them to do it, I think David Moyes is potentially just upset at the person who has passed this on, with blessing to the bubble. So I think he probably knows who he is. I don't think there's going to be men in black suits in the night coming for the bubble. I just think it's going to be a case of someone else who's passed the information on with blessing. It's not like a scoop or anything, or it's not like there's no subterfuge there or anything like that. I think someone's just dropped the ball and passed information on that they really shouldn't have, thinking it's okay open information. I mean, Moyes would have probably mentioned this in his press conference today anyway, you know what I mean? But it just gives maybe an extra 24 hours for Leeds to prepare kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn because in America they treat it very differently. There are injury reports, there are journalists that are really close to the teams and have sources within the teams, and as soon as someone is injured, then we hear about that. We hear about that right away. But that's not the case, especially in the Premier League. There is some secrecy. There is some it's tactically almost, right? You want to make sure you keep information as close as possible. It does affect game plans. So I appreciate the bubble. I don't necessarily like how smug some of the people he podcasts with are, but it's fine. I hope David Moyes doesn't make this a huge part, like a huge emphasis at the club as to root out any kind of sharing of information. It's relatively harmless, but I did find it funny that it was brought up, especially now that we're going on years of the bubble doing this, and there's still some intrigue over what that situation is.
And do you know what? I just think, fellow Blues, you hear news like that. I know you want the scoop, but come on, just for the club, just sit on it for 24 hours. You know what I mean? So, not that I have any scoops or anything, but if that was to happen, do you know what? Just keep stum. Doesn't matter. Your reputation doesn't matter when it could affect 3 points on the line. You know what I mean? So, but it is what it is. Daniel Barton, you are right. Between the Branthwaite stuff, between the right winger questions, he did not sound happy going into special. And you know what? He can be quite charismatic. We've seen that throughout most of the latter half of last season, his first half of season with us on his second visit. But Moyes could always be dour. He could always turn, and he's got that stern Scottishness. I mean, anyone from Scotland does. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he did seem agitated. I would say today he was not. He went in, I think in the early parts of the press conference, he seemed happy and jovial, but that maybe some of the questions rubbed him the wrong way. It was an interesting press conference for sure. I always like to watch those, not necessarily that you're going to get any news from them. It's more about tone and just trying to pick up things. I think we all probably watch it similarly because we're just trying to see, how does he answer a question? It's always going to be very carefully, but it's always interesting to see how he's going to answer the questions. What else did we miss from the press conference? Was there any other points that we want to make sure that we touch on?
Nothing, Megan. I think we've touched on most of it. I do want to correct myself. I said before that he said Patterson was going to be fit. He's not. I got confused. It's Harrison Armstrong who could be fit to play. So that's another body in midfield, probably on the bench who may be able to come on later on, which is good for the depth. But yeah, I just want to correct what I said at the very, very start of this when I said Patterson maybe fit. He's not. It was Harrison Armstrong that I meant. Just got a little bit confused. So I do apologize in regards to that.
No, all good. What's your preferred route for Harrison Armstrong and Tim Irabunum? There's been some rumors that Irabunum is close to going out on loan. The Everton haven't sanctioned that yet. I would imagine Derby County would love to get Harrison Armstrong back. So do you feel like it's just a matter of once we get players in that those two are free to go out, or what's your preferred route?
I think the ideal scenario would be we get another body in the central midfield, whether it's on loan or not, and then he goes out on loan. I would like him to go to a team that's challenging for the title, or a team that's playing at least for the playoff places, or one of the better teams in the league, because he's done the hard yards at Derby. He's played a bit more defensive. He's really shown that he's got that maturity, done the defensive side, shown the grit. And I think now, because we can see how good he is as a player, But yeah, he stood out amongst our lot, and they're meant to be Premier League footballers. I'd like him to play in a team where they're still quite direct, but they're a team that has more of the ball. They want to pass the ball around a lot more instead of 5 at the back defending kind of thing, which is similar to, I think, was the path that Roman Dixon should play, because you said earlier about obviously the youth academy. Roman Dixon's not good enough. We needed a player at right back last season. He had pace, and he would have been someone to put in there because of a dire situation. But I think he needs to go out on loan, and I think he needs to go out on loan to a team at the bottom end of the Championship where he plays right back or he plays right wing back, so there's less defensive responsibility, but he still does most of his work behind the ball, and he has to grow up a little bit, has to fill out a little bit, and he can still use his pace on the wing. I think that's what I'd do with him. But Havertz and Armstrong, ideally, get another body in, send him out on loan to the top of the Championship. If not, he'll stay. But because he will, if we don't get another body in, he will get game time, no doubt about it. He'll be probably central midfielder number 5 in the pecking order. He'll be able to work his way into that if he performs well as well. But with Dewsbury Hall potentially moving to the number 10 role, with us sometimes potentially playing a defensive midfielder and 2 central midfielders, there's definitely space for him in the squad if we don't sign anyone in. But I would rather another body in, send Armstrong on loan. It can only help.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the right way to approach Harrison Armstrong. He just needs minutes. He needs consistent minutes, and he needs to be a key part in the setup for a team that actually wants to accomplish something. There are teams that are going to try to hang on in the Championship this season. Derby County is probably one of those. There are other teams that are going to look to actually, do something and accomplish something this year. And I think if he stays at Everton, that he will play. Certainly, he may start in cup ties. He will come on as a reserve in numerous games. But no, I want Harrison Armstrong getting 90 minutes for a good chunk of the year. And then next year really coming in and making an impression. I was really pleased. I'm going to switch topics on you real quick since we were talking about the Championship. I was really pleased to see Nathan Broadhead go to Wrexham, and it looks like he's going to be in a position where he's going to be a really important piece of what they're trying to do over there. So, I mean, Nathan Broadhead would certainly be someone I wish we had in our side on Monday, just because he is able to fill in on the right. Not someone for the long term, but I think we could have used him on Monday. But yeah, happy to see that Nathan Broadhead, who had been at Everton, I think, since age 10. He's going to have a really nice opportunity to shine, much like he did with Ipswich a couple years ago. Hopefully he'll have a good spot at Wrexham this year.
Yeah, he was solid for Ipswich in the Championship. I think I was expecting to see a bit of him last season. He didn't see too much from him, so maybe that Premier League step is maybe a bit too much for him. But the fact he's going to go to Wrexham, the team's still on the up, so he's going to have a chance to still fight at the top half of the Championship table. And obviously, he's a fairly local lad. He's from North Wales. I don't think he's from Wrexham, but he's a good lad, and he's a local lad. I think he'll be a massive poster boy for him, and I hope he really does well for him. I agree with you, mate.
Peter with an interesting comment. Am I aware that Everton and Wrexham don't have a very good relationship? You'll have to explain that one to me. David Moyes was actually on an episode of the TV show. So he was in Wales talking to, I think, Phil Parkinson and maybe a couple other people with Wrexham. So, I mean, if there's a problem between those two clubs, maybe David Moyes isn't aware of it. Do you know anything about that, Corey? Do
you know what, mate? I do not. I absolutely have no idea, to be honest. If it comes from anything from the 90s onwards, 90s or before, probably not. I'm a bit too young for that.
Yeah, yep.
So, to be fair, do you know what? It could be me being completely obtuse, and it's something that's happened fairly recently, but I have absolutely no Scooby-Doo in regards to that.
Yeah. Well, Corey, what are your predictions for Monday? What should we look forward to?
I think there's going to be goals. I think it will, like you said, I think Leeds are going to start off on the front foot. I think we're going to need to dig in a little bit, let the nerves settle. But then I reckon I'm going for 3-1 to Everton.
Oh, wow. I would love to see that. Yeah, I think it's going to be sloppy. I think it's very much going to look like an early season game here. I think it's going to be a little sloppy. I think Everton are going to find their form in the second half. And I'm thinking 2-0. I'm going to go with a 2-0 Everton victory. Grealish creates both, but we'll see maybe a Barry and a Dewsbury Hall finish.
Fantastic. All both in the second half, mate. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to put money on it. Let's see if it comes true.
Let me know how it is. You can send me a pint over.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Sound. Just want to say a big thank you to you, Chad. Thank you for joining me, mate. We've not been on together in a long while, so it's good to see your face, good to hear your voice. And thank you as well to everyone who's joined us. We've hit over 200 viewers just on this platform alone, even more so across multiple platforms. So thank you everyone who's joined us. We appreciate it. We're excited to start the season. We're excited that we've got so many people here with us. Anyone who has joined us, if you can like, subscribe, especially if you do it via YouTube, we really, really appreciate it. Apart from that, thank you. Let's smash Leeds, up the Toffees. Let's go, boys.